Chapter 5. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For every one that stealeth shall be cut off, as on this side according to it, and every one that sweareth shall be cut off on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name. And it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, Lift up now thine eyes, and see what it is that goeth forth. And I said, What is it? And he said, This is an ephah that goeth forth. He said, Moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. And he said, This is wickedness. And he cast it into the midst of the ephah, and he cast the weight of lead upon the mouth thereof. Then I lifted up my eyes, and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork, and they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. Then said I unto the angel that talked with me, Whither do these bear the ephah? And he said unto me, To build it in an house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon her own base. Here we have in the 5th chapter of Zechariah lots of imagery. You cannot take this literally. So I'm just going to say that up front. You cannot take this literally. This did not really happen. Okay, none of it really happened. But there's a lot of symbolism here, and that's basically what most of these prophecies are about, is the symbolism, and they're used to teach people stuff. You got to remember, this is a day before there was any television, there were no VCRs, there were no movies. They didn't have paper to write on. Okay, so they had to draw images in people's minds using words. And that's what the prophets did. And so a scroll, or a roll, was a scroll. And it was the first of the 5, all 5 of the books of Moses were on scrolls. They were parchment, which is lambskin, that was written on. It's very soft, very easy to write on, and very long lasting. And they would put it on, roll it up, just like you'd roll up toilet paper or tissue that you would wipe up spills with in the kitchen or whatever, and roll it up on there. And you'd have the core part would be the wood, and you'd roll it, and there'd usually be 2. One you'd roll it off of, and one you'd roll it onto. And you would read what was on there. And the scroll, the roll, same thing, was symbolic of the law. That's what they called the law of Moses, was on those 5 sticks. That's why they call them sticks. And it had the moral and the religious law was outlined there. It was the divine law, the word that had come down through the prophets from God, that was written down for the people for future reference. The fact that it flew from heaven indicated that that was the original source of the inspiration. And it also, the fact that it flew quickly indicated that when judgment came, it could come pretty quick. Didn't want to mess around here. Now, the second part of this, he talks about 2 specific sins. The sins of theft and the sins of lying. And these are the 2 sins that are the most common in very, very poor communities, very, very poor cultures. And he's made the point here that these sins are so pervasive and so damaging that they are almost as damaging to people as leprosy would be if it was infected. You know, if it's in your house, for instance, it's in amongst your children, your wife, your spouse, whatever, if it's in there, it's almost like it's permanent, and it's deadly, just like leprosy would be. The verses 6 to 11 is his 7th vision. And you need to understand that this did not happen. An ephah was usually, as I recall, it was a basket. It was a large woven from reeds or other, straw or whatever basket, and it held the normal ephah was 1/10 of a homer. A homer had about 58-gallon capacity. So this would be the equivalent of 5 to 6 gallons volume. They didn't actually carry people in them. But here it's symbolic of a large container. And the talent of lead is symbolic of a very heavy weight that was put on top of this so that nobody would escape. The talent of lead isn't, although it is a specific weight, it is not a specific weight here. It is simply being used to emphasize a great weight and a way to prevent anybody from escaping. The woman is symbolic of Jerusalem, Judah, and with all of her sins. And Shinar is another name that was very commonly used for Babylon, or that area, the Persian area, as symbolic of the wickedness of the world. And so the woman, which would be the people of Judah, Israel, put inside a container of some sort, type, or description, so means they are contained. They are put in some, they're not like put in jars or anything, but they're militarily escorted, whatever it happens to be. There's just some way to convey them under very heavy guard over to Babylon, from which they will never escape. And there they are going to suffer because they're away from the temple, they're away from all the things that they wanted to have. This was the last of the 7 of the visions of Zechariah.